What's your big question there, Lee?
My big question is, and it's all around Paddy Dangerfield and the tackle that he's copped a week over, and I'm glad they're challenged him because I want to see what the AFL's response is. And I'm not fussed one way or another if he keeps a week or not. But tell us what you expect him to do in this circumstance. He's got a player running away from him, trying to accelerate at speed. He has to dive to tackle him. His feet actually leave the ground trying to hang on to him. And now you're saying, oh, you can't pin his arm. So what, you want him to let go with one arm and just ride him in a one-arm tackle in something that's happened in a split second when you've got an athletic guy trying to accelerate away from you. So, again, I'm all about let's protect the players. We know we have to do this, and I'm OK with that. But explain to us what you expect Patrick Dangerfield to do other than what he did do.
Yeah.
Because otherwise we're going to have to sit there and say, well, you can't tackle from behind because you might fall into it.
I think it's going to be a really interesting case because we're on the night we sat there and I think you and Geordie were really strong against it. I thought, well, it had all the elements of what they're trying to coach out of the game, and that is pin the arms and take him to ground. So I thought there was going to be a problem for him. But I'm a bit like you, Chase. I'm campaigning hard for this brain injuries as well.
I have to look after the players.
So don't get me wrong, but...
So at that stage there, you say, oh, I should have let go with my left arm.
Probably.
And one arm tackled him.
I think that's what they'll say.
Do you know how hard that is to stop an athlete that's trying to break away from it? We're asking too much, I think.
The catch-all has been duty of care. Has he displayed enough of a duty of care to the person he's tackling or the person he's competing against on a ground ball? And if you just take your eyes off Sam Walsh and watch Patrick Dangerfield's actions, I don't think he could have shown any greater duty of care in the act of that tackle. He leaves his body. He's actually now trying to pull his momentum back. He sits up and he's actually holding the arms. You can argue he's actually trying to hold the upper body of Sam Walsh up.
Landing on the ball doesn't help because that flips the top of the body over it as well.
What about this one? This one hasn't been spoken much about. I haven't asked either of you. I haven't heard either of yours opinion on this. I was doing this game and watched this, and the game moved on pretty quickly, and we thought, well, is there anything to see there? And I'm thinking, no, not really. I think he's got his arms free. Now, this hasn't been cited, by the way.
Well, so I would suggest out of those two tackles, there's more chance for a bad concussion to happen from the second one.
Yeah, so if we have a look at this, and
there's no pinned arms there.
We're not trying to get James Rowbottom cited because this has all been done, right? So this is not hindsight. But in actual fact, when you look at it, he drags the back of him down really aggressively there when he's in a pretty vulnerable...
That's like a second motion.
In a pretty vulnerable position with his back there and no arms to help him. Now, the argument would be, well, he was
trying to handball the ball,
yeah.
so could he have contorted his body and tried to break his fall? Possibly, but then he would have been pinged for not disposing of the ball properly.
I'm really surprised that hasn't been cited. If you're going to cite Dangerfield, I don't know how you don't cite Rowbottom.
They're completely different types,
I understand, but if the reason we're doing it is to protect against head trauma, then possible trauma to the head is what guides it. And we're trying to put actions and grab an arm, let an arm go, no two motions, no slinging, next will be dropping the hips. I think it's almost impossible to consider all that as you're going into
it's not just the concussion, by the way. It's just not. It's the accumulative head knocks, which is the big issue. So the fact that he jumped up and ran off is not a part of the issue.
But you would have to say to Rowbottom, you have to let him go before you drag him to ground.
Yeah. I mean,
and that's where we're going to get to with players.
Okay, Stephen May. It didn't help this whole situation on the weekend. I don't think there's anyone defending Stephen May's actions in this instance. In this whole process where we are trying to protect the head, and I've heard Jared talk about this, and I couldn't agree more. There's a duty for Stephen May there. Jared talks about the contract between both the tackler and the tackled, and that is, I won't dump you into the ground if you don't fake a head injury, and he has. Now, some of it's been a bit hysterical, in my opinion. Suspension, nah. Fine, 100%.
But there was supposed to be staging was brought in a number of years ago. And it disappeared as quickly as it came in.
I could give you 10 through the course of
100%. And when we get to good, bad, ugly later in the show, there's one that possibly could have copped a fine just like that.
Right.
So it's interesting. I agree. I love the fact that we're fining staging players.
You would get one more?
Yeah, I see that as that particular situation as an elevated situation because that rule is only in place for a medico-legal situation, which elevates it above playing the game, pushing the back, duck your head, feign head contact. I actually believe that my motive response was that needs more than just a fine.
You won a game for that?
Yeah. Yeah, that was my emotive response. Look, I think I've probably pumped the brakes and I've settled a little bit on it, but Stephen may be enormously embarrassed about it. I mean, the Melbourne give an award, the Angus Brayshaw Award, for the spirit of playing the game in the right manner.
But how does the doctor feel after the Petrarca incident? And then you see Stephen May holding his head. Oh, you better come off and have an HR. No, I was just faking it.
No,
well, now what if a player says I was just faking it when I get hit in the head? I mean, it opens up another can of worms.
It does. The doctor was running alongside him, and that's a really good point. Just Steve May go, mate, don't worry about him.
Yeah.